My parents gave my sister $400,000 for her wedding as a no-strings gift, house deposit, honeymoon decor, the whole fairy tale. When it was my turn, they sat me down, smiled, and said, "Of course we'll pay for yours too." I thought they were finally treating us equally, until I opened the envelope they mailed a week later and pulled out the wedding gift that made my fiancé go silent, my jaw lock, and my therapist swear. If you're interested in this gist, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. I always knew my parents played favourites. I just didn't know they priced it. You grow up thinking some families hand out extra hugs, extra praise, maybe an extra slice of cake to the golden child. Mine handed out $400,000. When my older sister Naomi got engaged, my parents turned into a walking bank commercial. My mum cried happy tears for 3 months straight. My dad pulled out spreadsheets like he was managing a corporate merger, and every conversation was about venues, floral budgets, live bands, imported cake artists, and whether the champagne should feel intimate or feel opulent. Spoiler, it felt like my student loans laughing at me from the corner. Then, a week before Naomi's wedding, my parents called a family meeting. I thought someone had died. Technically, someone did. The last shred of doubt that they treated us the same. We all sat in the living room, Naomi glowing, me in sweatpants because I had just come off a 12-hour shift. My dad cleared his throat and said, "We've decided to give Naomi a wedding gift that will really set her up for life." He pulled out a folder, laid it on the coffee table, and slid over a printed bank confirmation, $400,000. "This will cover the wedding, the honeymoon, and the down payment on their first house," he said. My mum nodded. Naomi burst into tears. "Oh my God, Daddy, Mummy, you didn't have to." "Of course we did," my mum cut in. "You've always been so responsible, so focused, so intentional about your future. We want to invest in that." I remember the way she said invest, like my sister was a blue chip stock and I was a scratch-off ticket that kept losing. I also remember waiting for someone to at least look in my direction. They didn't. I plastered on a smile, hugged Naomi, said all the right things. "I'm so happy for you. You deserve it. This is amazing." And a part of me meant it because she's my sister, and I do love her. But another part of me was sitting on the couch doing mental math. 400,000 divided by 2 daughters? Yeah, no, I could feel the inequality in my bones. Still, I told myself, maybe when it's your turn, they'll do something similar. Not necessarily that much, I'm not greedy, but something in the same galaxy, or at least the same solar system. Fast forward 2 years. I get engaged, not in Santorini with a professional photographer hiding behind a rock, in my apartment kitchen with takeout containers on the counter and my now fiancé, Lucas, kneeling on a slightly sticky floor because my freezer is dramatic and leaks sometimes. It was imperfect and real and so completely us that I cried harder than Naomi did under a rain of imported rose petals. When we told my parents, my mum squealed like she'd just won a new car on a game show. My dad clapped Lucas on the back and said, "Welcome to the family, son," in the tone of someone approving a loan. And then, here it came. My mum took my hands across the table, squeezed them, and said, "You don't need to worry about anything. We'll pay for your wedding too." For a second, I just froze. It felt like a glitch in the universe, like maybe I'd misheard. "Seriously?" I asked. "Of course," she said. "We want both our daughters to feel supported." It was the first time in my life I'd heard the words both and daughters used in the same sentence without a comparison attached. Lucas squeezed my knee under the table. His eyes said, "See? They're trying." I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. My dad nodded. "Don't overthink budgets," he said. "Just plan the day you want. We'll handle the logistics." The day I want, the support I never got. For 5 days, I floated. I scrolled venues without mentally converting prices into years of my life in overtime. I actually let myself imagine walking down the aisle without hearing a calculator in the background. Naomi even sent me her old vendor list and said, "Use whoever you want. I'll vouch for you." It felt like some broken part of my childhood was finally being taped back together. And then the envelope came, a plain white envelope with my parents' return address printed neatly in the corner. It arrived in between a coupon flyer and a medical journal I never ordered but somehow still received. I almost didn't open it right away. I tossed it on the counter and forgot about it until Lucas came home and said, "Hey, something from your parents." He handed it to me and went to put his bag down. "Maybe they sent you a timeline or a budget breakdown," he called from the hallway. "Why would they mail that instead of calling?" "Because they're boomers," he said. I slipped a finger under the flap, pulled out the letter and started reading. By the second line, my smile dropped. By the fourth, my entire view of what we'll pay for your wedding actually meant curled up and died. "What's wrong?" Lucas asked, coming back into the kitchen when I didn't respond. I handed him the letter with shaking fingers. "Read it out loud," I said, because I needed to know I wasn't hallucinating. He scanned it once, then again, his jaw tightening more with each line. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded like it had splinters in it. "So," he said slowly, "apparently your parents' idea of paying for your wedding is very different from what they gave Naomi." Lucas read the letter twice, then lowered it slowly like he was afraid it might bite him. I stood there, gripping the counter, waiting for him to say something, anything that could make the words on that paper feel less insulting, less humiliating, less absurd. But nothing could soften what was written there in black ink, in my mother's careful cursive, as if neat handwriting made the contents less offensive. "We are absolutely still committed to paying for your wedding," the letter began. Already a red flag. Nobody starts a sentence like that unless they're about to hand you a burning paper bag and call it a gift. The next line confirmed it. "Since Naomi's wedding was so large and extravagant, we have decided your celebration should reflect your personality. Simple, modest, thoughtful. Translation, cheap, quiet. Don't embarrass us by wanting nice things." And then came the stomach punch. "We will contribute up to $1,000, 0 cents, toward your wedding expenses. This should be more than enough for someone like you who has always been low middleman independent. $1,000. $1,000, not 400,000, not even 10,000, not even 5. $1,000. Someone like you. As if my entire existence could be summarized like a clearance tag, as if being independent meant I didn't deserve help or love or celebration. As if modesty was a personality, not a survival mechanism. I felt my pulse pounding in my throat. Lucas looked at me with that slow, controlled anger he got only when something was deeply unfair. "Hallie," he said carefully, "this is an insult." "Oh, it's worse than an insult," I replied. "It's a financial hate crime." He tried not to laugh, but the sound slipped out anyway, sharp, disbelieving. "Do they seriously think $1,000 is going to cover a wedding?" "They think $1,000 can cover happiness," I said, "which explains my childhood." He placed the letter on the counter, as if laying down evidence in a courtroom. "And what's this part about reflecting your personality?" "Oh, that's code," I said. "It's for you don't deserve what your sister deserved because you're not her." He frowned. "That's not code, that's favoritism." "No," I corrected. "Favoritism was when they gave her extra dessert. This is economic discrimination." Lucas ran a hand through his hair. "Okay, let's be reasonable. Maybe they just phrased it badly," I snorted. "Lucas, they didn't phrase it badly, they phrased it intentionally." He looked back at the letter and squinted. "Wait, there's more on the back." My soul left my body. He turned it over and read aloud. "We don't want you to feel overshadowed or pressured to recreate Naomi's wedding. Your celebration should be humble and meaningful. Please keep receipts so we can reimburse you appropriately." I grabbed the edge of the countertop so hard I almost pulled it off its hinges. "Humble and meaningful," I repeated, "because nothing says love like an audited wedding." Lucas blinked. "Barely want receipts." "Apparently," I said, "my parents are running my wedding like a college internship." He set the letter down again, slower this time. "How do they not hear themselves?" "They hear themselves just fine," I said. "They're just not used to anyone questioning the volume." My mind reeled back to when Naomi got her wedding money. No rules, no limits, no humble or modest. No receipts, no conditions. Just joy, just generosity, just love. And for her, $1,000, $1,000. Enough for maybe a bouquet. Or half a bouquet if Naomi chose it. Lucas leaned against the counter, studying me. "Hallie," he said gently, "how are you feeling?" "Feeling?" I echoed. I felt like someone just told me, "Here's your wedding budget. Try not to breathe too loudly with it." He cracked a smile, but it faded quickly. "But truly?" I exhaled slowly, forcing myself not to crumble. "I feel embarrassed, angry, unwanted. I feel like my parents looked at both their daughters and decided only one was worth investing in." Lucas reached for my hand. "Hallie, I'm serious. You didn't deserve this." "I know," I said, "but they need me to believe I did." That sentence hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Thick, unavoidable. I paced the kitchen, my thoughts spinning like an unhinged carousel. "They think I'm the responsible one," I said. "So responsible I shouldn't need help. So responsible I should plan a wedding with pocket change. The responsible I should accept crumbs with a thank you card." Lucas crossed his arms. "Your parents are sending mixed messages." "Mixed messages," I said. "Lucas, they're sending Morse code for 'we love her more.'" He stared at me, jaw tightening. "And what are you going to do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm not taking the $1,000. "Good," he said. "You shouldn't. Even though my mum will say I'm ungrateful. Let her. And my dad will say I'm dramatic. He always does. And my sister will say I'm jealous." "You're not," Lucas said firmly. "You're angry, and rightfully so." I stopped pacing. A strange sensation crept up my spine. Not sadness, not rage, something sharper, resolve. "Lucas." "Yeah? What if this isn't about the money?" He raised an eyebrow. "Then what is it about?" I inhaled deeply, the realization lodging itself in my chest. This is about control. They think giving Naomi everything keeps her tied to them, and they think giving me almost nothing keeps me small. He nodded slowly. "So, what now?" I looked down at the letter, then back up at him, the spark in my chest igniting into something steady and dangerous. "Now," I said softly, "now we wait." "For what?" "For my parents to realize," I said, "that they made the biggest mistake of their lives putting this in writing, because they hadn't just insulted me, they had documented their favoritism. They had gifted me proof. And the real shock, I hadn't even opened the second envelope. The one my dad said had additional details. I reached for it slowly. My fingers trembled. Lucas held his breath. I tore it open, and when I pulled out what was inside, my entire world tilted. Because it wasn't money, it wasn't a check, it wasn't even a note. It was something I never thought my parents would send me. Something so insulting, so condescending, so humiliating that my knees almost buckled. And Lucas whispered the only words my brain could process. They didn't. Oh my God, they actually didn't. I didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. I just stared at the thing inside the envelope, held delicately between my fingers like it was radioactive. Lucas covered his mouth in shock. His eyebrows shot to the ceiling. His soul briefly left his body, went for a jog, returned, and still couldn't comprehend what we were looking at. Inside the envelope, my parents' additional details was a handwritten list titled "Affordable Wedding Options for Hull." I blinked twice. Nope, still there. Lucas read the title out loud just to be sure we weren't hallucinating. "Affordable Wedding Options for Hallie?" My breath hitched. "Lucas," I whispered, "my parents sent me thrift store wedding tips." And oh, the list. A masterpiece of condescension, so potent it should be studied in universities. 1. Try alternative venues such as public parks, community gyms, or someone's backyard. Anyone, preferably not theirs. 2. Consider a potluck-style reception, where guests bring their own dishes. This creates a sense of community. Translation: you're broke, make your guests feed themselves. 3. Thrift stores and discount websites often have lovely wedding dresses if you're not picky. If I'm not picky, as in if I'm okay looking like a Victorian ghost whose dress was found in the clearance bin of a haunted Goodwill. 4. Skip professional photography. Ask a family friend with a good phone camera for my wedding. Meanwhile, Naomi had a photographer flown in from Italy who only shot in natural light and refused to photograph anyone with clashing energy. 5. Limit the guest list to those who truly matter. This will significantly reduce catering costs. I laughed so hard, tears slid down my face. They literally want me to pay for a wedding by uninviting people I love. Lucas's jaw flexed, the way it does when he's deciding whether to scream into a pillow or punch drywall. Hallie, he said slowly, this is not a wedding budget. This is a survival guide. I know, I said. I feel like I'm being punished for not being Naomi. And then I saw it. The last item. Number 6. The dagger. 6. If funds become tight, consider postponing the wedding until you and Lucas are in a more stable financial position. Love can wait. Love can wait. Love can wait, as if our love wasn't valid until we proved it with financial stability, as if we were two teenagers trying to elope behind a gas station, as if my commitment, my engagement, my relation, all of it was a cute little hobby that could be paused until my parents approved our bank statements. Something hot and terrible rose in my chest. Love can wait, I repeated under my breath. Lucas stared at the list like it was a crime scene. Your parents genuinely believe this is helpful? Helpful? I snapped. This list is a passive-aggressive manifesto. He picked up the paper gently, as if touching it with too much force might cause another family insult to appear. Why would they do this? Why would they give Naomi $400,000 and give you, he gestured at the list, a pamphlet on poverty weddings? I sank into a chair. Because Naomi is their prized investment, and I'm the daughter who figured out how to survive without them, so they assume I don't need anything. Lucas knelt in front of me. Hallie, you deserve so much more than this. I know, I whispered, but they need me to believe I don't. We sat there in silence, the kind of silence that wasn't empty but full of disappointment, full of anger, full of years of swallowed feelings finally rising to the surface. I looked at the list again, at the mocking cheerfulness of the handwriting. My mother wrote this with a smile. I could picture her sitting at the dining table, sipping tea, humming as she filled out a list, instructing a daughter how to have a wedding that cost less than Naomi's wedding cake. Lucas exhaled slowly. What are we going to do? I don't know, I admitted. But I'm not letting them get away with this. He stood, pacing. If you confront them, they'll gaslight you. If I stay quiet, they'll think I'm grateful. If you take the $1,000. I'll never take it, I said. Good, he said, calming slightly, because this is disrespect disguised as generosity. No, I corrected, standing, feeling something solidifying in my chest. This is favoritism disguised as financial planning. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then I felt a shift, an idea forming at the back of my mind. Dangerous and exhilarating. Lucas, yeah? What if I don't say anything to them?
He frowned.
Then what? A slow, wicked smile tugged at my lips. What if I let them think I'm following the plan? Hallie? What if I tell them I'm having a small, simple, humble wedding? Lucas's eyes widened. Hallie? And then invite them to something else entirely. His jaw dropped. Are you saying yes? You want to? But that would mean... Yes, Lucas, he rubbed his face. This is either brilliant or dangerous. Both, I said, and that's why it'll work. I could already see it, the shock, the disbelief, the poetic reversal. My parents wanted control. I give them the illusion of it. My parents wanted me small, I'd let them believe it. My parents wanted humble and meaningful. Fine, I give them humble and meaningful, but on my terms. Lucas swallowed. So, what's the first step of your plan? I looked down at the list again. At item 3 specifically, thrift stores often have lovely wedding dresses if you're not picky. A laugh escaped me. Sharp, bright, delicious. The first step, I said, is to buy a dress. A thrift store dress, he asked. No, I said, my eyes sparking. The opposite, he blinked. Wait, you're not seriously thinking? Oh, I am, I said. If they want modest. I grinned, feeling the burn of rebellion lighting up every part of me. I'm giving them the most extravagant, dramatic, unapologetically expensive-looking wedding they've ever seen. Lucas exhaled like he'd just witnessed a plot twist. And then he smiled. Ali, I think your parents are about to learn a very important lesson. Good, I said, lifting my chin, because I'm done being the daughter they budget for. The plan was forming. And oh, it was beautiful. But the real twist, I had no idea that the list wasn't the worst part. There was a third envelope, and that one would change everything. I didn't open the third envelope immediately. I just stared at it sitting on the counter like some cursed object from a horror movie that whispers your name once you're alone in the dark. The first envelope had insulted me, the second had humiliated me, and the third felt like it was waiting to finish the job. Lucas hovered behind me, arms crossed, vibrating with the kind of protective rage that makes men suddenly capable of lifting cars off highways. Hallie, he said, his voice careful, controlled, are you sure you want to open that? We can burn it instead, or shred it, or mail it back with glitter. Glitter, the nuclear option, but no. If my parents were escalating, then so was I. I need to know, I whispered, and with a deep breath I tore open the third envelope. Papers slid out, not one, not two, an entire stack, a professionally printed stack, a stapled packet. I unfolded the first page and my heart dropped so hard I thought it cracked the tiles. At the top of the page, bold and unmistakable, were the words, "Suggested budget breakdown for a practical marriage." Practical marriage. My parents had created a financial intervention for my relationship, not my wedding, my relationship. Lucas took the page from my trembling hands and read silently for 3 seconds before his eyebrows shot up so violently they nearly detached. No, absolutely not. They did not do this. Oh, they did. They absolutely did. And when I looked at the next line, I almost disintegrated. Financial recommendation. 1. Since you and Lucas are not yet homeowners, consider renting a small studio apartment after marriage. This will help you stay humble and avoid unnecessary expectation. Apartment for 2 adults and a dog. We had a dog. A husky, a dramatic, loud, high-energy husky who believed she was a wolf princess. Hallie, Lucas said, pointing at the page. They want us living in a shoebox with a wolf. Keep reading, I whispered, feeling something unholy forming in my chest. Some mixture of rage, disbelief, comedy, and a desire to scream laugh into the void. He continued, financial recommendation. 2. Avoid international honeymoon destinations. Consider a local camping trip or state park visit. Camping in a tent for a honeymoon. My sister Naomi had a 3-week luxury tour across Europe with a private driver and a bathtub overlooking Santorini. I'm allergic to camping, I said. Your mother knows that, Lucas replied. She actually wrote that in parentheses, he added, flipping the page. Sure enough. We know Hallie dislikes camping, but discomfort builds character. My vision blurred. Not from tears, from sheer neural overload. Lucas kept going, eyes widening again and again as if the packet was a series of jump scares. Financial recommendation. 3. You and Lucas should reconsider combining finances until Hallie proves she can manage money responsibly. I snapped upright. Manage what money? I've been managing poverty for a decade. Exactly, Lucas said. You manage money better than anyone I know. My parents think I manage irresponsibly because I bought a new stethoscope once, a necessary medical tool. He nodded grimly. And your sister bought a $12,000 0-cents gown, and your parents called it an investment in her happiness. I grabbed the packet, flipping faster. Financial recommendation 4. It may be wise to delay children until your income stabilizes, as Hallie is prone to emotional reactions. I slammed the packet on the counter. I get emotional one time at a Thanksgiving 8 years ago, and suddenly I'm a fertility warning label. Lucas put both hands on my shoulders. Hallie, this is deranged. Your parents are unhinged. This is the IRS of favoritism. But he wasn't done. There was one more page. The last page. The one that made my chest go cold, made the walls tilt, made the floor ripple beneath my feet. Final recommendation, Lucas read aloud, voice shaking with appalled disbelief. If Hallie and Lucas cannot meet these guidelines, we suggest postponing the marriage until Hallie has demonstrated greater maturity and long-term financial reliability. I closed my eyes. My parents weren't giving me a wedding budget. They were giving me a performance evaluation. They weren't being generous. They were being punitive. They weren't investing in my future. They were controlling it. And when I opened my eyes, Lucas looked at me like he was waiting for a nuclear reaction. Hallie, he said gently, this isn't about the wedding anymore. No, I whispered. It's about forcing me to be the version of myself they can control. And what are you going to do? He asked quietly. I inhaled deeply, and suddenly everything aligned, the list, the letter, the packet, all their subtle ways of making me small. Something inside me clicked into place like a key turning in a lock. Lucas, I said, we're not postponing anything. His eyes brightened. Good, because I wasn't planning on postponing you. I laughed, short, sharp, but real. We're not following a single guideline. Agreed. We're not using their $1,000. Absolutely not. And we're not planning a humble wedding. Obviously, I leaned in slightly. We're going big. How big? He asked. Naomi threatening big. His smile widened. I love when you get like this. Oh, I'm only warming up, I said, because if my parents want to give me pennies, we're going to give them a show, he finished. But then... He froze, not because of fear, but because his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and frowned. Hallie, he said slowly, it's your mum. What does she want now? I groaned. He read the text, then his face changed completely. Drained, astonished, almost afraid. What? I demanded. He swallowed hard. Your parents, they're coming over. What? Why? She said they need to discuss your response to the wedding guidelines. My eyes widened. I haven't responded. I haven't responded? Lucas looked at me, dread settling on his face. Hallie, I think they assume your silence means you agreed. My heart pounded. I looked at the list, the budget, the packet, the cruelty, the audacity, and, as the shock turned into fire, I whispered the only sentence that fit the moment. Good, let them come. Because they were about to find out exactly what kind of wedding a low-maintenance daughter could plan. When the doorbell rang, it didn't sound like a chime, it sounded like a warning. Lucas and I stood frozen in the living room, staring at each other like two people who just realised the monster in the movie is already inside the house. Remember, he whispered, don't yell. I won't yell, I whispered back. I'll speak with purpose. He nodded. Okay, but maybe don't speak with too much purpose. The doorbell rang again, sharper this time, like my parents were pressing it with the full weight of their entitlement. I opened the door. There they were. My mother's face pinched into the expression she saves for expired coupons and slow waiters. My father's arms crossed like he was preparing to fire an employee. Both of them radiating the kind of misguided confidence only people deeply committed to being wrong possess. Hallie, my mum said, brushing past me without waiting to be invited in. We need to talk. My dad followed. No hello, no warmth, No congratulations again on my engagement. Nothing. They sat on my couch like they owned the place. My mother smoothed her dress. My father rested his elbows on his knees, staring at me like he was about to conduct a disciplinary hearing. Why didn't you respond to our wedding packet? My dad demanded. We gave you very clear guidelines. Guidelines? You'd think I was opening a franchise location instead of planning a marriage. I took a slow, calm breath, the kind you take before detonating something. I didn't respond, I said evenly, because I was still processing it. My mum lifted her chin. We understand the truth can be difficult at first. The truth, I echoed, or your expectations, my dad scoffed. We just want you to have a wedding that matches who you are. Who I am, I repeated, and who is that? My mum clasped her hands. Practical, responsible, sensible, not flashy, not excessive, not... She hesitated, only for a split second. Naomi? Something inside me snapped so cleanly, I swear the air shifted. Ah, I said. So it's not that you can't give me the same support, it's that you won't. My mum's eyes widened. That's not fair. Fair, I said quietly. Fair is not sending one daughter $400,000 0 cents and giving the other $1,000 and a checklist on how to behave after marriage. You're twisting this, my dad barked. We don't want you to build expectations you can't maintain. Expectations, I repeated, or independence? They didn't answer. They didn't have to. Their silence was confession. My mother tried a gentle voice, the one she used when she wanted to guilt me into being small. Sweetheart, we gave Naomi what we did because she needed it. You've always been strong. No, I corrected. I've always been unsupported. My father stood abruptly. Enough. We're not doing this emotional outburst nonsense. Oh, there's no outburst, I said calmly. Just facts. Lucas stepped to my side. My dad's jaw clenched at the sight. You dragged Lucas into this. Lucas lives here, I said. I didn't drag him. He's my fiancé, not an accessory you can remove when the conversation gets uncomfortable. My mum stood now too, folding her arms. Let's be honest, she said. You've always been dramatic, Hallie. Always over-interpreting everything. If you want a wedding, stick to the guidelines and be grateful we're willing to help at all. I inhaled sharply. Okay, I said slowly. Let me make sure I understand. I pointed to the packet. This is your version of help. Yes, my mum said, this is reasonable. And the 400,000, 0 cents you gave Naomi. A gift, my dad snapped. She deserved it. She's our oldest. She's always made us proud. There it was. The truth, laid out on the table like a rotten fruit. Lucas spoke before I did, his voice steady but shaking with disgust. So, you're punishing Hallie for not needing you and rewarding Naomi for being dependent. My parents turned on him like synchronized sharks. This is a family conversation, my dad snapped. Lucas didn't back down. She's my family. I swear, my mother's eye twitched. I straightened. Here's my response, I said, voice calm as ice. I'm not taking your $1,000. Their heads snapped toward me so quickly I thought they'd get whiplash. Excuse me, my mum breathed. I said, I repeated, I'm not taking your $1,000 or your guidelines or your budget packet. Your vision for my life. My dad stepped forward. You're making a mistake. No, I said. I'm making a boundary. You can't have a wedding without our help, my mother hissed. Oh, I can, I said with a slow smile. And I am. With what money? She demanded. With my money, I said. With Lucas' money. With the money I earned without handouts or favoritism. My mum's face twisted. You'll embarrass yourself. No, I said. I'll embarrass your expectations. My father opened his mouth, but I continued. And just so you're aware, we're already planning it. They froze. Planning what? My mum whispered. A wedding, I said. A real one, a big one. One that reflects who we are, not who you want me to pretend to be. My dad shook his head. If you go through with this, don't come crying to us when it falls apart. I won't, I said simply. I haven't cried to you since I was 10. My mother's voice broke into a crack. Hallie, do not do this. You already did, I replied. The day you decided one daughter was worth celebrating and the other was worth restricting. Silence, heavy, broken, cold. My father grabbed the packet off the table and slammed it back into the envelope. Fine, do whatever you want. My mother's voice trembled, not with sadness, but with panic. We won't support this, not financially, not emotionally, I nodded once. I know, they stared at me, waiting for me to crumble, waiting for guilt, waiting for regret. But I felt none. Instead, I said the one sentence they never saw coming. Good, because now you'll have no say in anything that happens next. They left without another word, the door closed. I exhaled. Lucas wrapped his arms around me and whispered, Hallie, that was incredible. It's not over, I said. Not yet. What do you mean? I looked toward the calendar, toward the date circled in red, because when they find out where we booked the venue and what kind of wedding we're having, a slow smile spread across my face. That's when the real fireworks begin.